everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our little Awakening Health show. And I'm kind of excited today because I was reminded of a whole realm that I'd forgotten about, of movement and how movement can be so profound for supporting and helping us with the brain. Today we're going to be talking about neurological issues because so many people are dealing with problems with their neurology. We see children with ADD and ADHD. We have so many children with autism these days. We see all kinds of dyslexias and learning disabilities. And then we go all the way to Alzheimer's. We see people who've had strokes. We see people who have MS. I mean, the amount of people who are affected by neurological issues is enormous. And honestly, if we look at it, probably all of us are, to some degree or another. And there are some simple things we can do that can make a huge difference. You know, I've talked to you a lot about the importance of grounding and getting your feet out on the ground as much as possible. If you can't do that, looking at getting leather shoes so that you can get the grounding through the earth. All these things are very important. Getting our sunlight, all of that's very important. But when we already have some form of damage happening, we want to do things that will help us to get the movement happening through our nerves again, our autonomic nervous system, both to the sympathetic side and the parasympathetic side. And it turns out that there are some extremely simple little exercises that have had miraculous effects. I can't say they'll be miraculous for everyone, but they're so simple, they're so easy to do, and there's so many people who have benefited by them that I think they're certainly worth giving a little bit of time and energy to see if they make a difference for you. So to start out, maybe to get you a little bit excited about the possibility, there's a wonderful gentleman, Dr. Lee, who has been a Qigong master for many years. And he was in an accident where he fell off a horse and had a very high break in his cervical vertebrae and became a quadriplegic. And he understood about qi and energy and movement. And so what he did was he just took his tongue and put it to the roof of his mouth. And he moved his head as gently as he could, and in the beginning, because he could barely move at all, I mean imperceptible movements in the beginning for him. But all he did was with his tongue on the roof of his mouth, which I'm not doing right now because I'm talking to you, but he just simply moved his head back and forth as much as he could. And within 6 months, he had all of his movement back. He was no longer quadriplegic. That's all he did, as often as he could, all day long. It was just... And what's also happened is mothers who have learned about this from him, who have children who are severely handicapped, either from autism or even genetic problems where they have no function, they're not speaking, they're not talking, they look like they're in another world. The mothers will just come and hold their heads from behind them and just move their heads back and forth. And over a period of time, the children started to function again. It's been amazing for many autistic families to work with the children and making a game of it, a song of it, whatever, and just, you know, teaching the children about touching the roof of their mouth and just going back and forth. And if you go and you YouTube this, it's called brainwave vibration. And there's a book by that name called Brainwave Vibration. Oh, I'm having such a hard time saying that. I guess I need some neurological help today. But anyway, you can purchase that book, and used copies are just incredibly inexpensive. and see all the details and the science behind it. I mean, when we touch our tongues to the roof of our mouth, we are making a connection with our hypothalamus, which has so much to do with brain function and hormone function and rejuvenation and all of that good stuff. So it's extremely simple, and I mean, I've been just kind of playing with it numerous times during the day because it's so simple to do, and you don't have to do it for hours or anything like that. Just whenever you think about it, just take a few minutes and so I'm going to encourage you to do that with me right now.
So I have a question.
Sure.
The touching the roof of the mouth with the tongue creates a connection.
Mm-hmm. An electrical connection.
Electrical connection so before that actually happens, is there no electrical connection? Is it always broken? Or is there another way that it moves through the body?
That's a really good question, Bernard. You know, there's always, electricity is constantly happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously we're going to have our hypothalamus is working or we're going to be in trouble because they're so involved with the release of precursor hormones. And we also have this amazing thing going on with photons constantly. Photons are light, and all of we've talked about this in some other of our YouTubes, but light is how electricity and communication happens between our brain and all the microorganisms in our body, between our brain, all the organs of our body, and also from our organs back to our brain, from the microorganisms back to the brain. So we have this thing going on with light and electricity that's constantly part of our body's communication system. And a big part of what we need to do when there's neurological issues is to stimulate that, to get it moving again, to help to move the blocks that are involved with not allowing the natural flow of electricity and of energy and of light. It's all really frequency when we get right down to it. So in this particular method, the term they use is electricity, but honestly, my guess is that it's any frequency. Light, sound, color, all of it will affect profoundly that process. And when the tongue touches the roof of the mouth, it allows whatever it is specifically, be it photon, be it, you know, a sound that's imperceptible to us, or electricity, that is stimulated by that touch from the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And that's something that we'll see in yoga practices. We'll hear about it if we look at the Vedas. They're constantly talking about placing the tongue in different locations of the roof of the mouth. But in this case, we're just talking about placing the tongue behind the teeth, right where the beginning of the upper palate is. So you don't have to try and get your tongue way far back there or anything like that. That would be in some specific type of a practice to open up a certain capacity or to support a certain sensorial effect, be it visual or auditory or whatever. But in this case, we're just wanting to make that connection to support a healthier circulation in the brain. And we're also affecting this area, the brain stem. Oh, there's one other piece that is important, and that is that we want to gently push the chin back. Many of us, and I have a tendency to do that too, is to have our chin forward. But in this case, we want to bring the chin back. And whenever you work with like a physical therapist or yoga class or Tai Chi class, they talk about this being a better position. it actually elongates the spine. You can feel it a little bit. Just notice the difference if you relax with your chin forward and then tighten your chin. You actually, your back gets straighter when you do that. So in this case, we want to move the chin comfortably back. You're not trying to, you're not forcing anything where you make it uncomfortable in the back of the neck. But you can definitely feel how changing your positioning of your chin really affects the very far back part of the neck, where the brain stem is. And that's another thing that's so important, because the brain stem area is the location that's between the brain and the body. And all of those impulses, be they electrical or photon or sound wave or whatever specifically they are, they have to go through there if they're going to get communication between the brain and the body. So what we're doing is we're actually gently supporting that whole brain stem with our chin in the proper position so that our neck is open instead of crimped off. Because feel how different it is. If you put your hands back here and you take your neck back, you can feel how that kind of tightens that area in the neck. But you bring it down and it opens it up. So we're opening up the neck. We're making an electrical connection or energetic connection with the roof of the mouth so that we can get access to all of the wonderful glands that are in the brain. And I also wonder if it might have an effect on the pituitary and the pineal as well, because those are talked about from putting the tongue to the roof of the mouth in other traditions. But in this one, the doctors were just talking about the hypothalamus. And we're moving. So tongue, roof of mouth, chin gently back, opening up the back of the neck, and just turning our head to the left and the right.
And then the cervical cushion when you're lying in bed, supporting that same position when you're
That's right.
sleeping. You got it in the cervical cushion tucked in there.
It's a really great idea to use either, like a roll of some sort, and if you don't have a fancy cushion, you could just take a towel and roll it up. Like I know when I go to hotels, oftentimes if I forget to bring my special pillow, I'll just roll up a towel and put it under my neck when I go to sleep. What I love about this is how incredibly simple it is, how we can actually do this for people who are incapacitated. We can do this for people who are in coma. We can do this for people who've had a stroke. We can do this, for our children that are severely damaged in some way from any type of illness or disease. So that's the beauty of this particular exercise. There's another one, and you can look these up on the YouTube, by the way, both of these exercises. This one that we just did was called brainwave vibration. Wow, that's kind of different, isn't it? Before I did the exercise, I couldn't get those words out without them kind of stumbling on my tongue. And I just said them without any problem. So, you can see these things happen very quickly. And a lot of people are also recommending, before you go into a stressful situation, that you just spend a few minutes doing this particular exercise. You can also do the next one that I'm going to show you too, but this one takes more capacity. I watched a little program showing autistic children, though, doing this particular exercise I'm going to teach you next. And, of course, there were lots of little game things that were being involved with it. But it's really another one of these things that supports the connection of the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, the electrical connections up and down in the body, and has great benefit for the brain itself, the neurology, but also because of the locations that we're going to be touching on the ears, which are major acupuncture points that have to do with the centralization of the body and bringing the body into like this central core. and supporting the energy moving up the core. It happens to be something that's wonderful for our longevity as well. So I'm going to show you part of it while I'm still sitting here, and then I'm going to put it all together and show you the movement that's involved in just a moment. So in this case, we're also going to be putting our tongue to the same location at the roof of our mouth, because we want to open up the glandular support for all of the hormones that the brain produces, but these are also precursor hormones for our thyroid, for our adrenals, for our male and female sexual hormones. So it's a really wonderful thing to, whenever you think about it, to put your tongue to the roof of your mouth. You can do it whenever you're not talking. It's very, very simple to do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our left hand, and the most important part here is that the thumb touches the lobe of the ear, and the back of the fingers touch the back of the ear. So it's the thumb that touches the front, and the index finger touches behind. And you do, first of all, you take your left hand and you place it on your right ear. Did I say that right? Yes, your left hand goes on your right ear, and then your right hand will cross over, and you'll do the same thing where your thumb touches your front of your earlobe and the index finger touches the back. And then, once we're doing this, we're going to do a squat. And when we do squats, we want to make sure that our knees are not protruding forward of our toes, because if we do, we can hurt our knees. And the other thing that we'll be doing is we'll be breathing in as we go down, and we'll be breathing out as we go up. And doing 10 to 14 of these repetitions 3 to 4 times a day has made the hugest difference in people's IQs. We've tested thousands of people. It's so simple.
It's crazy.
I know, it's made a huge difference in their IQs, their ability to synchronize different sensory activities. It's been wonderful for autistic children. And in both of these particular exercises, in some instances, I never recommend that you only do this, but in some instances, that's all these people did to get their neurological functioning again. For the first time after doing one of these exercises, a child may actually say their first words and acknowledge their parents. It's just amazing how powerful this is. So I'm going to show you this next exercise. So once again, what we're going to do is left hand first, goes over the right ear, with your thumb touching the front of the ear, the index finger the back. Then the right arm crosses over, so you've got your whole body X here, almost like giving yourself
Turn towards us for a moment so we can see.
So this is how your fingers are going to be. Remember, your tongue is at the roof of your mouth. And then we're going to just breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. And if you haven't been doing any exercises, just doing a few your first time may be all you want to do. But you may also, if you're already, in condition, you may want to go ahead and just do 14. 14 and 7, for some reason, they say are the best numbers for doing this. So if you can do 14, great. Otherwise, you can do 7. And just make sure that your knees are comfortable. And depending upon your ability, you may be able to go much deeper into a squat than I did, or you may not be able to go as deep into the squat as I did. But it doesn't matter. You just want to do what you can, because the squat movement itself, opening up the hamstrings and supports this whole central movement for in Chinese medicine they call it the governing meridian and the central meridian, up the front and the back of the body. Ideally you'd want to do it 4 times a day. So when I do something numerous times a day and I'm trying to create a habit, I like to give myself some kind of a trigger. So, if you think of something that you might be doing 4 times a day, like maybe leaving the bathroom, when you close the door to the bathroom, you spend a few minutes, I don't think this is going to take more than 3 to 4 minutes, doing your squats. And maybe you might also at the same time do a minute or 2 of the neck movements. And that's all it takes. It's pretty amazing. So I think it's worth a try. I'd love to hear your results. So you can email us at meridiangrace@gmail.com, or you can also just go to the website and send me a message from the website and let me know what kind of results you get, because it's just been pretty astounding. There are also a few nutrient sorts of things that you can do that have made a very, very big difference for people as well. Pretty much across the books. One of the big ones for the brain is CBD oil. And the use of CBD oil has so much history now for working with seizures and having a huge response with children and adults who have any type of seizure activity. Also, there are numerous people reporting that just using CBD oil, their autistic children are coming out of their autism. So, just like these exercises, the CBD oil, and very small amounts I might add, have made a huge difference for people with brain function issues. If you don't have brain function issues, you're not going to notice any kind of difference. However, there's something called the cannabinoid system. And we happen to have cannabinoid receptors in every cell of our body. And CBDs are cannabinoids. And it seems to be something that is one of those sorts of things that over our lifespan can be very, very neuroprotective. So if we don't have any problems, we could use it for prevention. But if we do have problems, it can make a very big difference. And people have found it's really helped with sleep and with pain, but in particular, amazing results for brain function. Lots and lots and lots of history. I think I've sent out information to people who have asked to be on my email list about a whole webinar series on the amazing results of not just cannabinoids, but also medical marijuana. And I want to tell you that what I'm talking about is simply the cannabinoid. There's no hallucinogenic quality to it whatsoever. It's made from the hemp plant with no THC. So we're talking about a food product. We're not talking about anything that can change your consciousness.
Is hemp the only source of this?
At this point, that's the only source that I'm aware of, other than our own brains, which make it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And there was such a long period of time in the United States where you could get fined if you didn't grow your particular amount of hemp. I mean, hemp was considered to be such an important thing for hemp seed. First of all, it's higher in omega-3s than even flaxseed. So it's one of the highest sources of omega-3 in plant form. We used it for rope. We used it for paper. There was such a huge political piece about paper and hemp because I guess there were some very wealthy people who wanted to use their lumber for wood, for paper. And we now are dealing with all these forestation problems, whereas hemp was a much better source for paper, obviously a renewable resource, and we wouldn't have to destroy our forests to get it. And it was grown by everyone just about who had any land to grow anything on. So we've really, we've covered up so much valuable information from my point of view, from the point of view of feeding the pockets of certain people, just greed-based, who had a lot of power. But hemp has incredible, valuable support for many people. As you probably all well know, I'm no longer a vegetarian, but there is a great source of protein in hemp seed. And so for those people who, are vegetarians, hemp seed has been used very effectively as support for protein.
Is it a complete protein?
I don't believe it's a complete protein.
Right.
But it has many of the protein components, so it can be mixed with other substances like rice to create more of a complete protein. Of course, I'd rather see people add eggs to it, but but anyway, that's neither here or there. Hemp does definitely have a place in our world, and cannabinoids seem to have a very important role for our neurological benefit as well, if there's any kind of problem. And there's lots of studies now that look at the benefits of cannabinoids for stroke, for Parkinson's, for MS, for Alzheimer's, for autism, and all kinds of learning disabilities. So it's something to consider. I found one that I think is very, very unique because of its cold pressing processes. I think I may have talked to you all about the unique Andreas oils. And so I carry that for my patients, and I also carry one that was developed by a Harvard medical doctor who gets his hemp from outside of the country.
The amazing thing about those oils is that the taste and the aroma is so exquisitely different from what you would generally get.
Isn't it amazing?
If you bought it anywhere else.
Yes, well, it's like the Andreas oils. Like if you were to taste the sunflower oil, for instance, it tastes just like sunflower seeds. But you buy any sunflower oil from the health food store, and that's not the case at all. It tastes like nothing. And the same is true with sesame. Like one of his exquisite oils is black sesame oil. It tastes like you're chewing on fresh sesame seeds. And the same with his pumpkin oil, like you're chewing on fresh pumpkin seeds. And his hemp oil, he has regular hemp oil, and then he has a CBD. But the hemp oil tastes just like you're chewing on the hemp seeds. And flaxseed oil, the same thing. They're just beautiful. And then he has a couple of really powerful medicinal oils, which I really love. One is black cumin seed oil that has thousands of years of history for helping to clear the gallbladder. And from that point of view, they talk about the black bile in ancient medicine, going all the way back to Hermes and Paracelsus. But black seed oil is for that, and seems to have, in lots of the literature, benefits to helping people's bodies come to balance again with things like cancer. So it's used a lot when people have cancer. And also coriander seed oil, which is incredible. Just tastes like fresh coriander seeds. And I love to even use that when I'm cooking. At the end, I don't want to get it too hot, so at the end of preparing a meal, if I want the flavor of coriander, I'll just put a few drops of it on my food, but I also take it straight because it's so good for fungal overgrowth. So the oils, can be profoundly medicinal. Hemp oil is definitely one of them. And he has a cold pressed CBD oil that it's so strong and so powerful. I really like it, and I just take a drop twice a day for maintenance of that CBD oil. But all the other oils, I'll just take a teaspoon of them here and there all during the day because I just think they're so wonderful for us. And of course, they can be used as salad dressings or toppings for any of your food. that you're eating. They're really flavorful, great on your vegetables and things. So that's a little bit about the oil. There's also some really well-known ancient herbs that have been used forever. In India, you may have heard of something called bacopa and brahmi oil. Bacopa is the plant, and brahmi is the oil of that plant. And it has wonderful benefits for the brain that goes back thousands of years. And just taking a teaspoon of bacopa powder or using the brahmi oil and massaging it into the head is great for brain function and circulation and all of that. So, if you are dealing with some type of neurological problem, or it's in your family history or anything like that, you could add bacopa to your daily routine and just take a little bit of it every day. It's even in pills.
Bacopa, can you spell that?
Bacopa, and brahmi is Brahmi. I should probably bring some in and show them to you. Brahmi oil is available from almost all the Ayurvedic companies, but I always have it here as well. And the same is true with bacopa, and I was just going to see if I could source it by the pound so that we could use it from powder instead of having to take it in a capsule or pill form. There's a Himalayan company. I actually use a company from India that's all organic herbs and that I get directly from India. So I want to see if I could possibly get it by the pound from them. The other thing that's really interesting and very inexpensive, very easily accessed is, I know we've talked a lot in the past about the connection between the brain and the gut. And I know we've also talked about the importance of minerals. And there is a plankton product that gives us all the minerals from the ocean, and it's made from the outer, like crunchy crustacean shell of diatoms, and it's called diatomaceous earth. It needs to be food-grade diatomaceous earth, which is very inexpensive, and it can be taken a teaspoon a day on an empty stomach, and it's loaded with silica. It's incredible for your hair, your nails, your bones, your skin. Silica is, but it also has a quality of being able to help remove parasites and to cleanse the membranes and the mucous membranes in particular of the intestines. So taking a teaspoon of it a day is a really great idea, and seeing if that makes a difference for you. Many people will discover that their skin will look brighter, younger, more youthful. Wrinkles will start to go away. They'll regrow back in hair that they were losing. There's just so many amazing things about silica, and it's used a lot homeopathically as well.
Can people also get that from you?
Yes, in fact, I'll order it. I used to keep a big giant bag of it, like about a 50-pound bag, but I can order it in pound bags and make it easier, because it does, you never want to heat silica. You want to just put it in cold water or cold tea, or if you want, you can put it in juice or whatever. But if you heat it, it can change the consistency of it. But the powder, it's a very finely ground, and you don't want to breathe it into your nostrils, and you don't want to get it in your eyes. So I prefer to just be able to send you home with a bag instead of having to get in there myself and, take it out and have to deal with the dust of the silica getting all over. So yeah, I'll order pound bags and have that available for people who are interested. It's a very inexpensive product. I mean, seem to remember paying like $20 for 50 pounds at one point or something like that. I don't know that it's going to be that inexpensive now, but it's definitely not going to be like the cost of CBD oil. So anyway, that's a little bit about diatomaceous earth. And another thing is that so many people are eating such toxic diets and picking up toxins from everywhere. And you probably know that charcoal is part of almost every filter to help pull toxins out of everything from the water to all kinds of things. So by taking just different charcoal types of tablets, there's activated charcoal and bamboo charcoal. Those are relatively inexpensive forms of charcoal that we can buy and take tablets of, or also buy it in a powder form and add that to a drink and take it daily, once, twice, even 4 times a day if somebody's really toxic, and to help with the toxins out of the body. But once a day is not a bad idea, especially if you're not eating organic, which I really think you all should be. But if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have access to organic food, or you've just gone to a friend's house, or it's a special party that you're at and you have nothing else to eat, and you eat things that your body's not happy with, taking some charcoal tablets will help to remove the toxins and help to get rid of gas and bloating and all the discomfort that happens from the horrible things that people put in their bodies these days that our industries, our food industries, have led us to believe is food, but really isn't. So that can be very, very helpful for neurological diseases as well, because so many times a major contributing factor is difficulty with the detoxification aspects of our bodies. So those are a few simple ideas. And then there are the bottom line things that happen to so many of us, like head injuries that we don't even realize. From falling, from playing sports, the head getting, shook. I was just talking with a young woman who's had migraine headaches ever since she was in a car accident. She was rear-ended, and the head went forward and the head went back, and she's had the most serious migraines where she can't see, where she can't function, where she literally has numb parts of her body. So in the homeopathic world, what we're doing is we're working with the life force. And the way we understand the life force in scientific terms is the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our body that does everything for us that we're not telling it to do. And the homeopathic remedies appear to be speaking directly to your autonomic nervous system and inviting your autonomic nervous system to find an answer to a problem. When we do medicines, and in the neurological world, medicines don't seem to have anything to do with curing anything. In the neurological world, allopathic medicines are just about symptoms. What happens, though, with a well-chosen homeopathic remedy is that you may have a symptom, let's say like ringing in the ears, and you take the right homeopathic remedy for your ringing in the ears, and after a month when you stop taking the homeopathic remedy, the ringing in the ears is gone and does not come back. Whereas taking a medication for a symptom, you stop taking it and the symptom comes back. There's nothing curative going on because it's not happening from the inside out. The homeopathic remedy is not a physical substance. It is an energetic substance. It's a frequency substance, like we were talking about earlier when the tongue touches the roof of the mouth. And it's actually educating the body how to deal with the issue, to actually release the blockages so that the body can respond in a normal, healthy way again. The block is gone, the energy moves, and the body does what it needs to. So we're actually, with a homeopathic remedy, honoring the whole process of how the body heals. And that's what we really want to do. Now, it's not as easy with homeopathics. That typically requires you're talking to someone like me or another homeopath in your area who's really studied the remedies that have to do with neurological issues. And also yourself really taking a deep dive back into your history, talking to your family, and finding out, if you don't remember yourself, what happened before the problem started to show up. So, for instance, if there was a stroke, what happened before the stroke? If you started having seizures, what happened before the seizures began? So those are the sorts of things that we want to look at, is what was the contributing factors, or possibly even the external event that took place that may have caused it. And as many of you may know, if you've looked at the YouTubes on our website, there's a whole realm of looking at inherited, unfinished business. And our emotional states are addressed by homeopathics, but can also be profoundly addressed by things like recall healing. And these also have, I don't know if we can use the word curative, but self-healing effects, where the body actually finds its new homeostasis, lets go of, in a way, the old timeline that carried these blockages, be they mental, emotional, or physical. And the body's ready to go enter into a new timeline without those blocks. And it almost seems miraculous to us, although the ancients really understood this way of healing. And homeopathy was even, like, probably the major form of medicine in the United States, curing hundreds of thousands of people with cholera and all kinds of epidemics. There's even a statue of Hanuman, the person who developed homeopathy, in Washington, D.C., because he literally saved hundreds of thousands of lives with 3 little remedies when major epidemics happened. So this kind of information is available. We have to search for it. It's not in mainstream medicine. There's still a lot of people in mainstream medicine who are trying to discredit homeopathy. But when you look at its effect and how it works with our life force, our autonomic nervous system, rather than just working at a symptomatic level, and there's no side effects, which is the amazing part. Because when you look at, just listen to a commercial, if you have television, about the side effects of these different medications that are being touted on television, it's like, oh my God, the side effects could be 10 times worse than the thing you're trying to prevent the symptom of. So I encourage you all to look really deep into your hearts and to see what makes the most sense for you. And I cannot encourage you enough to realize that there is hope, that there are answers. We are so profoundly affected by our beliefs and our thoughts. And probably it's one of the most important places to begin, is to realize that people do heal, and to search out those healing stories. There are so many of them on the internet. But not to get too stuck in the idea of how someone else healed, but to tune into your unique way of healing. Because it can get overwhelming when you start looking at all the different things that people are marketing, also from the idea of, this person healed from this and that person healed from that. So let's look to your uniqueness, your special, wonderful gift that only you can bring to the world. And let's look at how we can find a place where we can love and honor this gift of life that we have now, these bodies that we have now. And perhaps ask ourselves, when we put something in our mouth, when we go into an environment, is this something that honors my life, my preciousness, my innocence, my joy, my fulfillment? Or is this something that does the opposite? And please consider making the choice that recognizes how special and important you are, so we can have you here in total radiant health. So thanks for joining us today, and love to hear any comments, and wishing you an absolutely gorgeous day with miracles and blessings beyond measure.
And if someone wants to see you for a homeopathic consultation?
They can go to my website, awakeninghealth.com, or just give me a call. Meridian, my email is meridiangrace@gmail.com, and my phone number is 512-698-7009, and you can find it on the screen.